Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing Steve Boyens, the managing partner of Pearl Grey Equity and Research, which provides investors with the opportunity to participate in the mining sector as the popularity of small-scale mining surges. Steve, it's great to chat to you once again. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange this week said it is going all out to attract junior resource minerals exploration to list on the Joburg Exchange. What needs to be done, in your view, to ensure that listings at the small end of the JSE are successful?
The first issue for the JSE is it's very thinly traded. So it's an illiquid market, meaning that if you look outside of the top 100 listed entities, you've really got a lack of exposure for companies. So it's one thing saying that you want exploration companies to list. It's another thing assuring external investors, especially outside of South Africa, that these companies have proper prospectuses, that these companies are going to be able to really sustain within a good governance system, because those are issues that we're faced with at the moment in South Africa.
And why do you hold the view that companies outside of the top 100 are better served by running as private companies?
Yeah, so maybe just for a reference point, that's actually market-based research that's been done, right? It's a market-based opinion. Trading's very thin. Not a lot of people are aware of these companies. The reason I say they'd be better served as private companies is if you're a thinly traded company, you've spent quite a lot of money on listing, you've spent a bit of money on your roadshow. I just believe that those funds can be better spent. You can spend those funds on maybe getting the services of a geologist that you need, or maybe getting that environmental license that you need, maybe doing your own roadshow. Moreover, I'd say that if you go and look at the lower market capitalization mining exploration companies in South Africa, without mentioning names here, if you go and look at their balance sheets, you're sitting with companies with 700,000 Rand on their balance sheets. You're sitting with companies, if you go onto their websites, there's no clear strategy there. So I'm just wondering, what if they just spent that additional money on getting a proper infrastructure in place and raising money privately? That's just, that's my opinion, and that's pretty much uniform from a market-based research point of view.
So then, what must be done to ensure that exploration emerges strongly? We need exploration here.
Definitely. Speaking as a non-lawyer and a non-geologist, I just think, and this is an anecdotal opinion as well, I just think that the processes are very slow. The processes in the departments are very slow, without outlining anyone specifically here. It's very slow. You don't really have, as an emerging market, your average person that wants to go on an exploration venture capital stage business doesn't have the luxury to really go and take 2 or 3 years out of the labor force. Just can't take that time off. So maybe if we can advocate speeding up processes and maybe get an industry standard for due diligence in place, which is respected by foreign investors, because that's where you need to get your capital from at the end of the day. There are loads of investors in North America and London and in the EU that want to invest, but they're afraid of any delay costs, opportunity costs, and poor governance. So again, speaking as a non-lawyer and a non-geologist, I just think that better processes are required. We need more succinct processes for getting your permits, getting your water licenses, and that's just a must-have. That's not even in the mining industry or in the basic materials sector. That's something that should be uniform across South African businesses.
And, we're losing out badly, and so is, the population of South Africa, particularly communities. And how does mining add to community benefit?
Definitely. Let's maybe drift away from small scale for a second. We've just seen the RB Plat acquisition. You've just seen Implats get the RB Plat acquisition, and you're seeing the community benefits out of that. I mean, there's a community fund that's been put into place specifically for that. You can just imagine the jobs coming out of that. Now, imagine if you can form an enclave of small-scale mining and tap into resources, how that would improve communities. Listen, we all know that PGM mining, the value, for instance, that PGM mining can add. Communities, taxes, you're missing out big time. South Africa is at a current account deficit. That should not be happening in this country. And I firmly believe that is because we're overly reliant on the big players in the mining industry and other industries. And there's not enough small businesses getting the necessary funding they need. Therefore, there's a lack of externalities, and it's just having an adverse effect on the country in general.
You know, we're saying that the JSE isn't attractive, but why is the Toronto exchange so attractive? We've got 1,600 small resource companies. Why is Sydney so attractive for small resource? It's got 600 of these, and the JSE is sitting on a dozen or so. So surely if we followed their model with flow-through schemes, etc., we would be able to build here.
Yeah, so that's where the thin trading problem is a big issue. It's all good and well saying we want to follow the model of the Canadians and the Australians, but it's not a uniform solution. We first of all need to look at the infrastructure of South Africa, of the JSE's infrastructure. It's not a liquid market, it's informational, it's not a transparent market. North American markets are transparent, they're liquid, as is the Australian market. So we've really got to find our own solutions. When you speak of flow-throughs, we need to form partnerships with foreign exchange traded funds, for instance. You've got exploration exchange traded funds abroad that would invest in, let's say, gold exploration companies. But what they require is real transparency from the companies they have in the exchange traded fund. Otherwise, there's no value add for them. So it all starts, and again, speaking as a non-lawyer, it all starts with the basic processes. How can we get processes quicker? How can we get proper infrastructure in place with regards to transparency? Yeah, so I'd maybe just say that it's not a uniform solution. South Africa has to find its own solutions.
And finally, Steve, what in your view should be the biggest takeaway then from this interview?
I'd say maybe just to leave the JSE with a thought is, I know there are net delistings on the JSE currently, and I know it's a big worry. I would just be very careful of accepting listings onto the exchange just for the sake of stopping net delistings, just to save the reputation of the JSE. Let's save the reputation. Let's start getting the basic stuff right, because again, based on anecdote, you can go and look at some of the low market capitalization companies, especially in resources. If I'm an investor, majority investor, minority investor, I would simply just not touch those companies. So maybe get the listing process, improve it, have a more robust process, have a tougher due diligence process, and from there on in, we can restore confidence in the JSE, and better companies will then want to list. They'll spend money on the road shows because they know they'll raise the necessary capital.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Steve Boyens, the managing partner of Pearl Grey Equity and Research.